Check me out.
Yeah. Hey, podcast listening people, how are you doing today?
Yeah.
Appreciate you so much for listening in to the show. My name is Connor Doobie, and I'm your host each and every single episode, here to bring you the top insights, information, resources, tips, tricks, stories from the incredible community here in Denver, Colorado of entrepreneurs, leaders, mentors, subject matter experts. And I have a great show for you today. My good friend Jessica Gonzales stops by, who is a well-known event planner locally here. She's been an entrepreneur for over 15 years, sold, exited, had a successful business exit before the age of 25, and now hosts a Denver-based event series called Great Minds Meetings, which is a lot of fun, really high-level networking. I've actually had the great opportunity of speaking at one of her events, and Jessica is just such a giver and really great human being. I'm so excited for you to hear her story today. Before we get there, very quickly, if you have a guest you recommend, want to collaborate with the show, want to partner up in one form or another, something we're always open-minded to, just feel free to send us an email over at milehighmentors@gmail.com. Again, milehighmentors@gmail.com, and we will follow up with you there. Also, feel free to, give us a shout on all your social media, wherever you find us on social media. Give us a shout. And I just realized I forgot one of the most important things I always say at the beginning of these shows is please do us a tiny favor. Pause this right now. Pause this wherever you're listening. Make sure you go subscribe and give us a review, because first off, we really appreciate the feedback. Helps us quite a bit. Helps us continuing to make this show great for you, and it also helps with our rankings so that other people can find the show. So, pause this, make sure you give a review, make sure you subscribe, and we are super grateful to you for that. All right, guys, without further ado, please give it up for Jessica Gonzales on the Mile High Mentors podcast. No, you're never nervous. You speak in front of crowds of people. This is nothing. Only tens of thousands of people are listening to you right now.
Okay.
Like, meh, that's nothing new. I'm digging the dress. Got like the whole, it's like Marilyn Monroe style. Like I always envisioned like the white dress.
Like brunette style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, she was Marilyn Monroe. She was blonde. Oh, okay. Got it. Yeah.
I like to put my flair on it.
Flair on it? What's the flair? Like flare, like buttons?
Like, no, like, as in, actually, I got into the Marilyn Monroe look when I was blonde for a short time, and now I'm not blonde, so I still do it.
When were you blonde? How long ago were you blonde, Jessica Gonzales?
Like, a year ago. Lots of people said they didn't like it, and I was like, I don't care. It was a bucket list item thing to do.
Now, is Gonzales Hispanic?
Mm-hmm.
Is your family Hispanic?
My father's Hispanic. My mom's a white girl.
Ah.
Mm-hmm.
They're from South Colorado, right? Pueblo?
Yep.
Is that where you're from?
Pueblo, Colorado, originally.
Wow.
Yep.
You're the second native. We've had a lot of
Really?
guests that aren't natives, but you're the second one we've had in today. Just had Paul Foley in here.
He's a native?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He is a native.
Huh. I like it.
Yeah. It's good stuff. So what was it like growing up in Pueblo?
Oh, God. Well, kind of boring. It's got a small town mentality. And
Get your face up in here.
Okay.
Scoot yourself up. Get yourself comfortable.
No.
Feel free to move this around if you need. Get it. No. That's off.
No, but
do we need to get her scooted up to the mic a little bit?
Yeah, just a little.
Yeah, just bring.
You want me to do this?
I
can do this.
Yeah, that's cool. Pull your chair up.
Okay.
There you go. Oh yeah. I told you got to get that freaking mic right up in your mug. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Pueblo, what was it like growing up in Pueblo?
Well, it was a little different for me. I started my first company when I was 15 as a teenager. So for me, Pueblo is kind of boring to live in. There's not a whole lot to do. So really for me, it was just finding something to do out of boredom. So I started a company. It was a event production company. So lighting, sound, special effects. It's called FX Express. And that's where I learned the basis of business. Yeah.
You started event production that early on.
I had some help.
Yeah.
I had some help.
Like who?
So my business partner, David Cesario, I met him in detention at high school. I was a little bit
Is
rebellious.
the best place to find your business partner. Yeah. Jessica in detention, I couldn't see it.
Oh my God, every day. Every day.
What were you doing that was causing so much detention, causing stress and chaos?
Ditching school. I would either ditch in the morning or in the afternoon, so I was always there only half a day, the whole year.
This was high school, I'm guessing?
Yeah.
Because you're 15 in high school. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, so... But you know what? It was probably the biggest day of my life because ever since then, I just found a love of events. And I've never doubted it one day. There's been a lot of people who told me, I remember when I started doing it in hotels. My very first hotel was a Marriott. And my supervisor pulled me aside in a broom closet to have a conversation with me. That's HR friendly, by the way. And...
Sarcasm, people. Don't do it.
And he
Unless you're office lovers, don't do it.
No. And I'll admit it, I was struggling. I had never worked in hotels doing events before, but I had all this knowledge in hotels, in events, but not in hotels. And so I was struggling. I was, busting my butt trying to, really get my performance where it was supposed to go. And he took me aside and was just like, I don't think you're cut out for this. I think... Basically, he was encouraging me to quit. And I realize it was because I was calling him out on everything he wasn't doing that he should have been paying attention to.
You were a threat, and that's why he...
But I didn't realize that at the time. At the time, I was just I just keep messing up. So, he looked me right in the eye and said, I don't think you're cut out for this. Maybe you should consider quitting the industry. And just something in the back of my mind just snapped. Because it was just I considered it. I was maybe he's right. Maybe I need to... Careful
with the water bottle, by the way. We're picking that up on the mic.
So he basically was...
What do I do with my hands after
what do I
do? Trust me, I know. It's hard. That's why I have a pen, and I always have to have a pen because I got to have something so I get it. But I want people to be able to hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he was just putting a lot of doubt in my brain. And then for 5 seconds, I considered it. And then something just clicked and I was just no, you know what? I don't know about that, but here's what I do know. And I just listed out everything I thought he was doing wrong. And I swear he was going to fire me on the spot. I just let it all out. And I was well, damage is done. So I might as well just tell him the truth on everything. And at the end of it, it was just awkward pause. And he looked at me and was just okay, carry on. He never bothered me for the rest of the time I was there. I think he was a little scared to confront me about anything other again. So that was a good memory for me.
Wait, so this was a company you're working in after you started your business?
Yeah, so I actually had my business. So I started when I was 15 with another gentleman, and then we scaled it actually really quickly. We started competing. We were the only production company in Southern Colorado, and then we were competing with Denver and Colorado Springs. Then we grew to Wyoming. We basically were the only company in Wyoming, Kansas. We started doing shows in Nevada, Florida. We actually were growing super fast. And then I actually sold it when I was 21. So my partner had some help.
So you did it for 6 years. You built it up for 6 years, and then you sold it to another production company?
Yeah, we actually sold it to a friend who wanted to acquire the business and had us on his radar for a while, and he wanted it and kept approaching us. And We decided to sell it partly because my business partner, his health was starting to fail, and a lot of the business was falling on me.
How much older was he?
About 10, 12 years
Wow.
older than me.
Oh, so he was like 26 or 27 when you're 15 building this thing?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah.
He was hired to do a show at my high school, and that's how we crossed paths. And he offered me a job because that's another story for another time. I'm not going to give away everything.
Why not now?
But
that's what we're here for.
If you want me to, just for you, Connor.
Yeah. I want to hear it.
Okay. So I was...
If it's interesting. If it's boring, then don't talk about it.
No, it's interesting. It's just...
Any story you share is going to be good. It's going to be interesting.
Okay.
Now, because I know you. You're someone I didn't know.
I'm strange. You already know that I'm strange, and so when I'm
that's why we get along.
That's why we do
that's
get
why
along.
we're homies.
Yes.
Okay, sure. Drop the story.
So I was attending detention at high school.
Yeah.
And he was hired to do our fashion show, our annual fashion show, and they put detention people into the auditorium. And so we're sitting in there. My friend that I normally walked home from school with, because I didn't live very far, was freaking out. She had never had detention before. And I was like, this is no big deal. You're going to be fine.
You look over, you're like, first time?
Yeah. Put her under my wing a little bit. And I told her, if we actually start picking up after the show, they might let us leave a little bit early. I've done it before, right? I've got all these little hacks now in detention. And so we started wrapping cords and putting things in boxes. We didn't know where anything went. So we just kind of did the best we could. And he was actually loading his truck. And when he came back, everything was ready to go. And so he offered me a job. And I took it. I mean, I didn't have any extracurricular activities in school. Actually, I was miserable in high school. Miserable. Bored as hell. Not feeling challenged. Probably hanging around the wrong people. So I was kind of craving just something to occupy my time. And anything he would teach me, I would just soak up like a sponge. But I think it was fate because we balanced each other really well. He was very analytical and had an engineering mind, and I'm more of a visionary and more abstract, and so we complemented each other business-wise. Right. So anything that I needed to learn, he's a great leader. I mean, he allowed the space for me to learn without feeling like something bad was going to happen. I learned technical knowledge. We built dimmer racks through the night, soldering things together, and he taught me a lot. But I had a few things myself too that I brought to the table, if that makes sense. So it was fate. So we grew that business. I mean, we started just he and I, October 2005, and grew it to, we then had about 20 to 30 employees in 5 years. We had our own warehouse. We had about 60,000 of our own equipment. So,
wow.
Which is big because in the business, technology is always evolving. And so it's hard to keep, some equipment. We're always expanding it and getting new things and renting them out. So for us to have 60K of just our own stuff was really awesome.
So what went through your head as having that kind of success at such a young age, building a company and exiting? What went through your head when you sold that?
I had a midlife crisis at 21. We sold the company. Like I said, he had some health problems. It was falling on me. I started freaking out. I was like, is this really what I want to do for the rest of my life? I kind of just fell into this. What should I do? I should probably go to college like all my other friends and be normal. And we started seeing some of our numbers fall. We thought it was because of all the pressure that was happening with what was going on, but in reality it was actually in 2009 where the recession was hitting. So we sold it off. We didn't owe anybody anything. It was great. And with the money, I mean, a portion of it went towards my college education. A portion of it went towards his medical bills. And so it worked out really nicely. And I ended up going to college. I did it backwards. Started a business and then I went to college.
Yeah.
I got an entertainment business degree at Full Sail University, which is the only school in the country that offers an entertainment business degree.
Really?
Yeah.
That's surprising.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds surprising. I feel like there's got to be more than that.
No. Well, now, because it's been...
Well, Metro now, like they have one of the top event, Metro State University here.
There's event management programs.
But that's different than like
There's
entertainment.
communications. There's like all these different related degrees.
It's not
This
the same
is the
thing.
only entertainment business degree. And Full Sail is really well known for, I would say, creative degrees, if that makes sense.
So entertainment business, does that also count as like acting and film and stuff like that? Or is that more media?
It is media. So like basically it's somebody who's running the back end of those things.
Yeah.
So it's like promoting an artist or marketing a band or doing a movie premiere, distributing a movie. It's the business side of the entertainment industry.
Interesting.
And I went because I thought I was going to be a rock star one day. I was really big into open mics and singing and playing my guitar and
What do
doing
you mean? You are a rock star.
I am a rock star.
I love how you said, yes, I am. Self-validation. Yeah.
But yeah, originally I went because I wanted to learn the business side of it. And I thought I couldn't go wrong because I'm just pairing two things that I love together. And I did a 4-year degree in 2 years. I had no life.
Now, going back, would you encourage young entrepreneurs to do what you do if they're at 15, 30? Like I created my first business when I was 7, so it totally resonates with me. But would you encourage them in hindsight to build that business and to continue building businesses, or to go to school first and maybe build businesses while you're in school?
Assuming that this is somebody who has an entrepreneurial spirit.
Someone like you, if you were talking to your younger self, would you have still done the university thing or maybe gone on to build something else?
I have mixed feelings about it only because I didn't sit to think things through about what the end game was. And so now that I know what I know, I could be doing what I'm doing now without the degree, but it would have taken a lot of self-discipline and to maybe more time because I would have had to go out and find all this information myself, as opposed to going to a college that actually pulled all that information together for one place and then kept me focused to graduate. So there was some pros and cons. I learned about subjects that I never, ever would have sought out myself. So it was beneficial in that way. So that when I went out into the job market, and I started doing what I wanted to do, and I ended up doing events in hotels in the hospitality industry. I think my experience from being an entrepreneur so young actually fast-tracked my career because I went entry-level in events and hotels to a director of sales for a resort in 3 years, when everybody around me told me it would take 10 to 15 years. So I was
But it did. Yeah, because you had that 10 to 15 years prior in experience.
I did. I had...
So, kind of did.
I kind of did. It's just I did not like being limited. Whenever someone told me that I couldn't make this happen or that happen, it's like, I've already had a business. Like, what are you talking about?
And how is sales and resorts so complicated? 10 to 15 years? That seems a little audacious.
It's not. It's political.
Yeah. They just told you that as another way to kind of deter you.
To deter me, to hold me back. Because what ended up happening in hotels is they would promise. Oh, yeah, you'll get a promotion. Or, oh, yeah, we'll put you in this department. And then they'd be like, let's train you. Let's have you shadow. Let's teach you. And so somebody would put 2, 3, even 5, 6 years into hoping for that position. And then when it's finally available, they would just put someone outside from the company. Constantly happened. And I saw that happening, and how I climbed it so quickly was, it's like, well, if they're just going to pull someone else from another company, then I'm just going to optimize my resume, which I had the experience, and go in confident in the interview, right? And that's a key thing, believing that you can actually do it. But I basically kept promoting myself by just switching companies. And then ultimately, I ended up in Estes Park, Colorado, which is a smaller town. It's a mountain town. And they were desperate for someone who knew what they were doing. And they ended up hiring me at my age. I've been so discriminated against on my age. I'm sure you have too, maybe. Yeah.
Every day.
And so I had to learn how to combat that. There was a lot of hurdles I had to get over. But
talk about that a little more. What do you mean by discrimination on your age?
Well, because the norm, it took so long.
You felt it was your age or your gender or your skill set or potentially your level of experience, but you call age. So you think his age is like the biggest thing?
I think when I was getting started, it was age.
Yeah.
An employer actually told me that they weren't going to put me in that position because they were afraid that the clientele wouldn't be able to relate to someone so young. Because the clientele was an older crowd.
Right. When in fact they loved you because you were so young.
Well, in reality,
full of character and
in Estes, they just needed somebody.
Yeah.
Anybody, because they have such high turnover there. Everything's accelerated. And so what ended up happening is I was like, I'll take it. I'll take the job. Yeah, let's do this. And I actually made a pact with my future employer in the interview. It was basically like, if I mess up 3 times, I give you permission to fire me. And he was like, 3 times? I'm like, yes, 3 times.
He's like, I was thinking about 2, actually.
I was like, just trust me. Let me do whatever I want to do. Let me put some things in place. Let me take care of it for you. And
what gave you that idea to do that? Don't you feel like they would have fired you anyways if you screwed up 3 times?
Maybe.
You just felt like it helped the cause by expressing that before they hired you?
I think the making the pact, like building that trust really quickly. It was a bold statement, especially from a young woman. And I was just like, I want this job. I am the best person for this position. I can help you. I can take care of it. And if I don't, like, give me 3 strikes. And if I hit those 3 strikes, I will fire myself. So I think it was just the confidence of it. And he's like, okay, 3 strikes. And I never got 1 strike. Not 1. But I was always very careful, because I wanted to keep that promise. My goal with any position, any client, actually any friend, any connection, period, is that I want to leave it better than how I found it. That makes sense? And I think that mentality has got me really far. Because it becomes something a little bit more purposeful than just money or anything else, really. It's just like, I want to leave that person in a better mind state with more money, or I just want to impact. That's it. So now I just go around impacting wherever I can.
And you do, for sure. What's instilled that upon you? Because that's an uncommon trait for the average person.
That's a good question. I think because I'm growth-minded. I like to see things grow. I like to bring life to things. I like to help people slow down in the moment and actually enjoy themselves. And to me, that's growing connections. There's all these different ways to grow things. And people who don't like to grow things, I mean, you're either growing or you're dying. Either growth or decay is the way I look at it. It's very white and black. And so I feel like I'm not making progress. Can't even talk right now. Progress. Unless I'm growing.
We didn't
something.
even have that vino yet.
I know.
Jessica. So did you study, because you're a really positive person and it's not like you've had the easiest of lives, but did you do mindset things early on, or that's just kind of been built into you over the years out of habit?
Few things came from, I would believe, my parents. My father loved to read books, and he lived on a farm outside of Pueblo. And when I would go visit him, because my parents are divorced, when I go visit him, there was literally nothing to do but read books. And so I think that gave me an edge, just because my mother would read to me when I was young, and I really liked books. And then he brought me a lot of different content that someone my age wasn't really reading, because there was nothing else in the house to read.
Like what? What were you reading?
psychology,
Really? Wow.
body language books. Oh gosh, because they had gotten divorced, he was obsessed with relationship books. So he was growth minded. And he's a natural salesperson. Like, he's an artist. He loved to do art. And so I can't tell you how many hours of just sitting at art shows, watching my dad sell his art. And then when I was about 14, then of course he, voluntold me to start selling things. So I think some of those things were instilled in me. But when I became 15 and I saw my business partner doing the things he was doing, I wanted to do a good job for him. Like, I wanted to learn and I wanted to help grow the company, and I was having fun doing what I was doing. That's a huge aspect of any of it. I couldn't have done anything in any portion of my career, even now, without having fun. And so I actually really annoy some of the other event planners because they can be very stingy and precise, and I am too, but I like to have fun. So I'll give you an example. When I was working in hotels, I was the only person I saw while our team was setting up the rooms for an event that I would actually put on my playlist from my personal music. And I had a setup playlist, and it had, like oldies music and things that were meant to help them be faster. And then they started enjoying setting up the room. They started making requests and
music
laughing.
makes a mood.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so they started enjoying setting up the room and doing their job. And to me, that made them so much more productive. And it made me happy to see them happy. And we worked faster. Things got done. But my thought was, why isn't anyone else doing this? I've gone to other hotels. I went to the embassy in Loveland, which is the #1 embassy in, I think, the world? Maybe nation. I don't remember.
In Loveland?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
And they're
In Loveland?
fantastic. Yeah.
Loveland.
Yeah, Loveland.
Embassy. In the world.
In the world.
So in your opinion, why is that?
One, they care about their staff.
Mm-hmm.
I actually shadowed them for a day. They care about their staff. They actually recruit, all of their employees are from colleges that are studying event management or banquets or whatever they're studying. So they're a little bit more invested in the outcome. And they hire from within. The general manager, I don't even know if he's still the general manager, but phenomenal. Great guy. Really wants to see people do well. Wants to see things grow. So people who get stagnant, who are just happy where they are and they're not raising their standards and constantly doing that, I feel like it just decays everything. Your life just starts becoming stagnant and you're not happy anymore. It's, I feel, a human trait of wanting to grow and progress and be better. So
you feel that way though, naturally. So what do you think hinders people from setting that standard? Since that's kind of what you say is like setting your standard is what allows you to grow.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think hinders most people from that?
Fear. Fear, and that's the basis of it. I'm just going to save you some time. It's fear. But if you start seeing it, some of the other reasons that branch off of that, it's maybe feeling like they're not worthy of making it happen, that they'll fail and they'll be embarrassed, or they're not smart enough. It's all a self-esteem issue. So if you can actually, I don't want to say eliminate that issue because you can't. People try, you can't. There's no need to eliminate it. And that's what they're trying to do. They're constantly trying to eliminate that. Instead, people think
they have to eliminate it to overcome that hump.
It doesn't work. That doesn't it's not the nature of how this works.
That's interesting. Yeah. Well, I was just talking with Paul when he was in here. We were talking about how I'm naturally introverted. Like people don't think I'm introverted, but I feel dominantly introverted than I am extroverted. But I have to force myself out of habit. I can't eliminate, my fear of doing, talking to people, being on stage, like doing podcasts, all that good stuff, doing Facebook Lives. But I think habit is probably something that will help people eliminate fear, right?
Well, again, you can't eliminate it. There's no point in eliminating
Not eliminate it, but learn how to control it.
Right. I like to think about setting it aside. Like, I don't know if I'm visualizing it. I'm a very visual person. So whenever I'm nervous, there's a few things that even I tell myself internally is it's always worse in my head than the actual outcome. If I'm nervous about something.
It always is.
Always.
You always, but that's a human, there's a evolutionary reason why we're like that.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But you have to, in your head, actually have the positive self-talk to get you to do what you need to do. Like when I went into that interview, I had never been a director of sales before.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, I sat down and thought, can I handle this? I've never done this before. Like if I go in and then I can't do it, this could be embarrassing or, I could get fired in a month. But then I thought, no, I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to be so prepared that I am the one for this job. And I had to tell myself that. And so it's so funny because when I went into the interview, I was like, I'm going to give him no reason to say no. So I had to sit there and prepare and think, what's a reason he could say no, that he wouldn't want me to be there? And I had an answer for everything that he could possibly come up with. And I had visuals. I had all this stuff out. It took me 3 days, and all I did was prepare for this interview. And then I get there, and I don't think he was expecting this whole presentation and the way I was acting. And then I come to find out a couple of weeks later after I got hired that it was between me and a car salesman. Someone who wasn't even in the industry. And I had all this in the background. So it was a no-brainer. So I actually worked harder than I had to. But it was pivotal because now any interview, I'm like, I've got this. I just need 3 days.
Yeah. So you went from entrepreneurship to kind of intrapreneurship. And that's something you still like now. I guess Great Minds is your a business that you're building, but you're still technically you're an employee. You finding jobs right now, right?
I love variety. I can't help it. I discovered this when I went and worked in the corporate world in hotels, because when I was an entrepreneur, I loved having somebody who was my partner to help me whenever I got stuck. I needed to have somebody who knew more than me to be there when I needed it. And so when I went into the corporate world as a millennial, I was like, oh, there's structure. There's stuff here to help me be successful, and I like this. And
it's a vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that part of the corporate world I really loved, but then the corporate world didn't know what to do with me because I did run my own company, and I was being more outspoken because since I had a business partner who really encouraged that partnership, now my superiors in the corporate world, I was challenging them, and I wasn't afraid to do it. And you asked earlier if, maybe being a woman in this type of environment might have
There's a microphone
been a part
in
of it.
front of you.
Yes, thank you. I think in the beginning, I had never really experienced sexism in a corporate environment, and so I just was trying to perform my best, and I was outperforming other men, and they were not happy about that.
Yeah.
And started trying to sabotage things, but because I had my own business, I have seen my competitors try to sabotage us. So I knew exactly how to handle it.
You knew what that sabbatical, that's something different. You knew what that sabotage looked like. Well, you hit on something that I think is interesting and I want to touch on is that it's very sexy to go into entrepreneurship and it's very popular. But I think a lot of people can really expand better for themselves as an intrapreneur.
Yeah.
And
it's way
by
easier.
taking a vehicle. And people try too much to do stuff on their own. One, success doesn't happen in a vacuum. And you are, you've gone through building a business and you almost prefer the kind of big organization, but you prefer that structure. And that's been successful for you.
There's aspects of it that I really enjoy. Yeah. But starting your own business is hard. It's really hard. The longest shift I've ever worked, 36 hours straight, no sleep.
Dang.
That was when I had my business.
Yeah.
And that was right before, it was kind of that growing pain, going from like a super small business, which we were still super small, but just getting to that next level. It's before we actually started hiring a team. So it was just me and my partner. And so we were growing to where we had multiple events happening at one time, and we needed to have several stages set up and things like that. And we were just running ourselves ragged. And I remember at the end of that 36-hour shift, first of all, on a somewhat other note, I've slept in some weird places to get things done because of that reason. I've slept under stages. I slept under the stage of Foghat because I was so tired. I've slept on sidewalks while we were waiting. What?
Foghat?
Oh, I forgot. You're 25? You're young.
Are you ageisting right now? Are you being an ageist right now?
I know. It's an old band that's awesome. Go
I don't
look it
know
up.
old bands that you would know. What are you, 5 years older than me, maybe?
But I love
Maybe.
music. I love music.
I love music. Oh, you're assuming?
Okay.
I don't love music?
Go learn music history.
Okay.
Foghat.
What are they? What kind of music?
They would play with Journey a lot. So think that genre. Yeah.
Maybe they just sucked and that's why no one knew them. Because I know who Journey is.
No. You're as cold as ice. That song? I love that song.
Oh,
no, that's
okay.
Foreigner. That's Foreigner.
That's Foreigner. You're
Ugh.
just making stuff up now.
Okay, anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Wait, you slept under the stage while
They were playing. Because I was exhausted.
Did you get any like beer spilt on you under the railings or anything like that?
No, it was outside on
And you actually slept
field.
through it, huh?
Like a baby.
Wow.
It was so loud, but like a baby. I was exhausted. But that's the thing. My point is, I have put in the time.
Imagine being a concert goer and just looking on the stage. It's just like a passed out woman under there.
Well, no one could see me because we had like a black fabric around the stage, and but I'm
funny.
still made fun of that to this day from my partner.
Yeah.
But like the 36-hour shift, basically, there was no one else to get it done. That's the thing that people don't understand. Like, entrepreneurship is really hard. If you don't show up, like if your employee doesn't show up, you're the one who's going to get yelled at by your client. Like, you have to get it done no matter what. So if there's some big hurdle, something comes up, there's no one else to figure it out. You have to figure it out. You don't have a choice. So when we started hiring people, a lot of people, first of all, I should tell you this too. I was the mole for my own company. I'll tell you that in a second. But yeah, because I was so young, no one knew I was the owner of the company.
Seen Austin Powers? Mole.
Yeah.
Moly, moly, moly. I realize it's ironic that I have a big mole on my face and am in fact a mole.
I had 51% of the business, so I owned it. And I think when I was able to get 51%, I was 17.
Wow.
So no one knew I owned the company, so I was my own mole for my own company. So when somebody was stealing from us, which happened, I found out. And
How many employees
like
did you have?
We had a total of 30 by the time we sold it. 3 teams.
What'd you build it to revenue-wise before you sold it?
I'm actually not able to disclose that.
Oh, really?
Contractually. But anyway...
What you sold it for, or what the revenues were for it?
Both.
Oh.
Because of the contract that we sold it to the gentleman. So. Anyway, where was I going with that? No, actually, that's how you can use age discrimination for yourself, because.
People undermine you.
We had competitors. That's where I was going with it. We had competitors. I had employees that were taking advantage of us. I saw where people would go to try to get an edge. We had a competitor actually dump water all over our soundboards at a concert. He tried to knock off my partner off of a ladder. That was like a 20, 30 foot ladder. It was a tall ladder, and like was trying to knock him off of it. He was like, "Oh, it would be a shame if something were to happen to you."
Oh my God, I didn't realize this industry is so savage.
It's any industry.
My goodness.
I've seen worse things in the hotel business.
Really?
But that's what people don't realize when they go into entrepreneurship. Like, everyone wants a piece of you. You'll get vendors that are constantly trying to sell you on something, and some of them are very persuasive. And, if you can't spend money on every little thing that comes by, shiny syndrome, there's so many things that people don't anticipate with owning a business. So entrepreneurship is actually less risky. You can still have that mindset. You can still be part of an awesome company. Entrepreneurship isn't for everyone.
It's a really viable. Yeah, it's really viable. I've been talking about this for a while because I've had so many peers that try and start a business, and again, it's popular and it's good if you can pull it off. But there are a lot of vehicles out there that you can be 15 times more successful taking the right kind of vehicle than trying to just build it on your own.
Absolutely.
Be an intrapreneur. There's a difference. And I think the age thing is really interesting too, because, I'm too young to start this, or I'm 30, people, like, average age of people in this industry is 40. Like, I wait till I'm 40 to do it, or I'm 18. I'm going to wait till I'm 25. That's the right age. Is actually being young is a benefit because you're undermined quite a bit. And that's actually a benefit to you. Like, I sell to CEOs that are baby boomers of these, multi-million-dollar organizations doing $50, $100 million in sales. And the conversations start because they see me as like this young punk on social, and I'm putting content out there, and they're like, all right, I'll give this kid a shot and I'll talk to him. And I start talking to them, and then I just laser beam them in and build my credibility that way by being respectful and using my knowledge, because it's different. It's unique. So being young is a benefit. And you can start at any age. You can be old and start.
Well, that's the thing. The internet has changed the rules on everything.
Yeah.
That's why I love business, because it doesn't matter anymore, especially with the internet. I mean, now every industry is a little different. So, like, if you're going into the medical field, obviously you want to go get a degree and know what you're doing.
Right.
But in many different industries, it's really about what you know, what you can do, your skills. If you can get the results, oftentimes it doesn't, you don't need a degree anymore. If you can get it done, but that's the thing, the degree does help you get that knowledge, but you can get that knowledge yourself. It's just not many people have the self-discipline and the focus and the things that you need to do that yourself.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Practitionership always wins out.
My rule of thumb is, if it's time sensitive, spend the money. Like, even when I'm doing weddings, right? There are people who don't want to spend money because they're trying to keep their budget, right? But it's like, okay, if somebody has the dress and it's not here and you need to spend money to get it, like, airlifted over here quick, or for whatever reason, if it's time sensitive, just spend the money.
Yeah.
Like, 3 days before your wedding, it's time to start spending some money to get things done.
Yeah.
So just like with
people
college,
don't see it as an investment, though. They see it as an expenditure. I heard a really interesting concept recently that you might like, is that set an hourly rate for yourself. And if there's something that falls anything less than that hourly rate, hire someone to do it, or hire a resource, or pay for a resource to do it. If it falls under, like, I can say I'm worth $5,000 an hour, and if it's worth less than that, then I'm going to outsource that and pay for it and invest in it.
It's all about what the goal is.
Because my time is worth more in production.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the goal. If I'm working on a project and it's several months out, and I've got some time to do the research and to compare vendors and things like that, then do it. If you have the time, you have to know which asset you have. Time can be an asset. Absolutely. You can get paid to do things that other people don't want to do because they're willing to pay you money for the convenience.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if you have time, you're like, I've got nothing else going on today. Might as well make some money. Then do it. It's an asset. But if you're running your own company and, maybe you want to get this project going, this milestone by a certain time, and the clock is ticking, and you need to collaborate to make it happen to get to that deadline, there you go. Then it's worth spending the money to get the collaboration. So it's all about the goal. Who cares how you do it? Well, okay, no, people should care how they do it. It needs to be efficient, but that's the thing.
And
results.
Ethical.
And ethical. Absolutely. Well, that's just a given.
Okay. Well, maybe. For most people, hopefully.
Not doing it
you'd be
ethically
surprised.
is just cutting the corner.
Exactly.
And people love to cut corners.
So what led you to Great Minds, building out that?
Well, so I quit my corporate job because I had reached my life's goal of being a director in my field, which was at the time hospitality. At 27, my goal was to be 30, but I beat it by 3 years. And I looked around me and I was like, I'm not happy. And I went and talked to my business mentor at the time, and I was like, look, I'm having this problem. I'm not happy. I don't know what the problem is. And he just told me, well, just make bigger goals. Like, no, I don't think you understand. I know I'll get the goal. Like, whatever I set, I'll get there. I know I will. But I don't want to get to that goal and be in the same situation I am now, which is unfulfilled and not happy. So how do I find fulfillment? And he looked at me and was like, Jessica, what you're dealing with right now is what usually middle-aged people deal with when they get to that top of their mountain and then they realize they built or they climbed the wrong mountain.
Yeah.
So at 27, I was like, oh, no, what am I going to do? And everyone I talked to didn't have any answers for me. And so I figured out I'm going to have to find the answers myself. So I cannot tell you how many YouTube videos I looked at, how many books I read, how many people I talked to just try to find those answers. And I disciplined myself to find them. I was living in Estes Park. I knew I wanted to leave Estes Park because I was like the youngest person living in Estes Park. It was a very isolated mountain town. And so I took on a client, one of my first clients, because I quit my job and I started Great Minds Event Planning, which was my own event planning business. I knew I needed clients, so I took on a client who was a hotel. I did consulting for them at DIA. So now I'm driving from Estes Park, Colorado to DIA every day, which is a 2-hour drive, 4 hours a day. So that's a full-time job just driving. And you know what I did during that time? I listened to YouTube channels and I listened to audiobooks, and I was determined to find out what the answers were to life. I wanted to figure out how to be happy. And basically the basis of now a lot of my philosophies came from that. I did that for 10 months. And
what book hit it the hardest for you? What audiobook or what piece of content did you consume that hit that shift more than anything?
I don't think it was just one. I think that would be impossible to just have one.
What comes top to mind?
I can tell you some of the people that I found that made really great content that kept me on my toes and helped me figure it out myself. Dan Locke, Ty Lopez, Grant Cardone, Gary Vee, all the ones that are popular. Abraham Hicks. If you haven't heard of Abraham Hicks, you gotta go check that out. I just started finding all these influencers, right? And that's the thing. They tell you to go find mentors, and now the internet has brought so many mentors to your fingertips. And so I found the things that resonated with me, and then I started finding the right friends, the right people that really uplifted me. It was a lot of things. And basically what really hit home, I guess this answers your question, is Ty Lopez talks a lot about a stoic philosophy where life is all about health, wealth, love, and happiness. And that rang with me. When I looked at it, I was like, oh my gosh, there is nothing beyond those 4 pillars. Like, everything else is a distraction. And there's subcategories within those pillars. But I was like, man, this is what everyone's trying to figure out. And so I took those 4 categories and I was like, you know what? I got to start somewhere. What I realized what my problem was for my whole life was I worked so hard and I was so focused on being successful and growing things and having my own business and being, the top of my career and all this stuff. I had no life. No life. I'm telling you right now. I was terrible at relationships. I never got to see my family because I was working so hard.
Right.
I lost out on so much, and I was only in my 20s. ridiculous. No wonder I'm unfulfilled. I wasn't balancing those 4 categories. And so I looked at these things and I saw, okay, wealth category isn't bad. You know, doing pretty well. But relationships suck. And my health sucks. And my happiness is definitely not where it should be. So I actually realized I need to do one action item in those 4 categories every day. Because if you neglect these other categories, one day might not really see any results from that.
Yeah.
But add time to that equation. Like in 10 years, you're going to know what you're neglecting big time. And that's what I see so many millennials and business owners and all these people. They are so fixated on climbing that mountain, and they're going to be just like me. They're going to be 10, 15 years older, and they're going to realize, I made all this money, I'm successful, I know all these people, but I'm not happy. And there's no point to it if you're not having fun.
Yeah.
No point. So,
Or fulfilled.
Or fulfilled.
Yeah. No, I don't think there's an actual balance that exists. I think balance is impossible. And people get hung up on, work-life balance. It's not real. It's not actually something that you can accomplish.
You can balance it.
No, nothing is ever actually perfectly balanced. The scales of justice are never going to be perfect. But like you said, if you're making the same consistent micro efforts in each area, that's where it compounds and balance occurs. But I don't believe there's an actual truth to balance.
You're right. You okay, so
for some people now if like me, I have really huge, audacious, like crazy goals, and we've talked about this before. Yeah. And like it'd be impossible for me to have balance to accomplish that. But there's a way to build it in incrementally.
What you're talking about is a concept of sacrifice.
Yes.
You have to sacrifice to get things that you want.
Yes.
Actually, you can sacrifice to get things that you don't want too. And that's where you're distracting yourself.
Very true.
Right?
Shiny object syndrome.
My thought is, if you have to sacrifice and suffer, like you're going to suffer no matter what. Right?
Yeah. But there's a difference between like a good suffer, like, I just went to the gym and my phone just died. I just went to the gym and blah 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 and now I suffered through the gym. There's a difference in that and like, suffering because I have no money in my bank account to pay for my bills.
If you don't balance those 4, you're going to suffer greatly. You're going to have a very painful life. If you do balance those, let's say in a perfect world, you have all 4 balanced, okay? If you're good at consistently doing it, okay, you're right. One day it might be thrown off balance a little bit, right? But one day as opposed to like 5 years of being miserable, not getting what you want, huge difference. Huge difference. Now I feel like I'm 99% balanced in my life right now. 99%. And I leave that 1% because there's room for growth. It's what they call it's where you're blissfully dissatisfied. You're never going to get 100% because my passions, the things I love growing in those. And I'll never feel like it's enough. Never, never, never. That's why it's 99%. But those 4 categories I have strengthened, and I did it really quickly. I feel like I hit a rock bottom, and then I really had to get things going in the right direction. And now it feels the strongest it's ever been. But I put a lot of emphasis on making sure that's balanced every day. Like I said, I do at least, when I started, it was 4 action items in those 4 categories every day. So I'm doing something that makes me happy. I'm doing something for my health. I'm doing something for my business. I'm doing something for my relationships every day. And that's what keeps it balanced and strong.
Consistency. Now, do you do the same exact thing same exact amount of effort for a relationship as you did for health that day? Probably not, but the consistent effort compounds on itself. I think that's a really good philosophy to have. People get too one-sided and too heavy on one component, and then the others fall behind. Even if one falls behind one day or a couple days here and there, net, it's all going to be powerful.
Yes. One, you touched on it earlier. So let's say I want to grow my business.
Did that cut? Oh, the light just like went off. I was like, oh, there's a ghost in here.
Let's say you want to have massive growth.
We have spooky studio ghosts, in case you didn't know.
Let's say you have a goal that you want and it's a big goal. So if it's a big goal, it's going to take longer to happen, right? Which means you need to expend more energy, more time, more effort into that goal, right? And you want it so badly, maybe by a certain time, right? They tell you to make a deadline for your goals.
Even that microphone just got beef.
The microphone loves me. Well, if I'm choosing that I want this to happen by this time, I'm going to need to do a lot of work for it to happen because it's a big goal. So now I'm having to sacrifice other things, right? So now I'm going to look at my other categories and be like, you know what? I'm going to have to stop going out with my friends. Am I willing to do that for this goal? Hell yes. I love them, but they can wait. So now I'm purposely taking focus off of that category to get something that I really care about. So the only time, I'm going to emphasize this, the only time it is okay to sacrifice anything in your 4 categories is for something you really, really want.
So there's a difference when there's not a balance, when there's intention behind it.
Right. I'm choosing to give this up to get this. The problem with most people is that they unintentionally are giving up things for what they don't want. They're watching 6 hours of Netflix, to not get anything from that, really, just wasting time. And then they wonder, why don't I have the things that I want in my life? Well, you sat on your butt and you chose to do that and you didn't really get much out of it.
Right. Which sometimes, you need to sit your ass down and consume some Netflix and just, numb out. Because this is a big mistake I made at one point was, you can only go for so long. Not that you get burnt out. Burned out is just a byproduct of not being passionate about what you're doing. But you can definitely find yourself still too heavy and not, making intention for the other things, like just laying on the couch watching Netflix for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you know yourself really well.
Removing yourself. Sometimes you have to remove yourself from being so close to your goal to get refocused back onto it in a different light. I mean,
you can only dispense so much energy. You have to re-energize.
Yeah.
But that takes knowing yourself really well. Because if you know what re-energizes you, then you can put more focus and tension on doing that. Right. I'll give you an example. Everyone knows this about me. I love pool time. I love the pool. Just being around water, I don't even have to get in. Just being around water, being out in the sun, just love it. It re-energizes me. And so for a whole year, I committed to doing an hour of pool time every day. And what ended up happening
rain, sleet, snow, you're still hanging out by the pool?
Yeah, I was out there. It didn't matter. Didn't matter.
Come on.
I don't like the cold, so if it was cold, I wouldn't be out there.
Okay.
But
I was like, that sounds a little silly.
I had a client that we were working on a project, and my pool time was from 11 a.m. to 12 every day. And he called me up, and he's like, hey, I know we need to get this done. We need to move up our meeting, because I think we were supposed to meet at 12:30 or 1. It's like, I need to meet with you at 11 a.m. And I was like, oh, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to be real honest with you. 11 to 12 is my pool time. And I really can't give that up.
Yeah.
Because it makes me happy. That's how I re-energize. And I thought he was going to be all mad. And he was going to be like, oh, you're not taking this seriously. And then he was like, wait a minute, you have a pool? I was like, yeah. He's like, can we have our meeting at the pool? Can we have a pool meeting? Like, absolutely. It's like, I'm going to tell my boss that I'm going to be gone for 2 hours for business, which is true, and let's go have a pool meeting. So it's become a tradition now. I still get my pool time, and I have these meetings at the pool. Who doesn't want to be there?
Yeah.
But I would have never known that was even a possibility if I didn't put that boundary for myself, to keep that promise to myself. And then I invited people to do it with me. So why not? And we got progress done.
Yeah.
Things got done.
Sure they did. The mimosas got done. That's
Yeah.
what got done.
But that
I'm
can
just
be
kidding.
that could
No,
be
that's a good
anything.
idea.
Whatever makes you happy, you know?
Yeah. No, I think people need to find that one thing. Like even just that one thing that they can recharge by or that will reinvigorate them.
Yes.
Meditation or eating something sneaky, cheating on your meal. So got to start winding this thing down here.
Yep.
But what share a little bit about the goal with Great Minds. And by the way, thank you so much for having me to come speak. It was an absolute blast.
Oh, happy to have you.
Loved it. It's a great group of people, like a lot of really high level. I mean, you got the politicians down there. You've got some of the top entrepreneurs in Colorado.
We had mayoral candidates. We get some interesting people down there.
Really do.
Yeah.
I've never had a lack of interesting people to speak with. I bring my mentor now. I got JV going down there pretty regularly.
Yeah.
And so yeah, share a little bit about that, and then how drop your pitch, anything you want to shout out, and how people can get in contact with you.
I don't really have anything to pitch, really. I mean, but I will.
Drop your pitch.
I will
Drop
tell
the
you
bass.
about Great Minds. Great Minds just was
Pitch Great Minds to us.
Okay.
Sell
I
us
can do
on
that.
Great Minds.
Great Minds was born out of my frustration of how people network in Denver. I mean, I'm an event planner, and I was trying to build my clientele when I moved back here, and I just went to all these networking groups that were so boring and so expensive. And as a planner, I was like, oh, I could do this so much better. And to me, I think when people start their own networking groups, they have the intention of like connections, and that's great. But then it turns into for profit, or they're promoting their business. And I just wanted a group where I could build my clientele of awesome people just to feed my own soul. And
By awesome people, would you mean? But people with great minds.
Yeah. I mean, it's in the name. It's there.
Yeah.
Which is why I named that my company.
Yeah. No,
you
it's
know?
great. I love it.
I believe that to do anything big in this world, you have to collaborate with other people. You have to get pieces of other people to make one whole mission happen. And so the way I look at it, I'm just facilitating a time and a place for people to come together and let that magic happen. And that's the magic of events. I mean, for a business to find your customers, to celebrate, maybe a milestone in your life, to me, it just bring everyone together, let them slow their lives down and enjoy and have fun, and let those brain juices get going.
So you do the mixers and the cocktail happy hours, and then you do more of a formal event once a month, right?
Well,
what should people expect coming up here in the next couple months?
So we have a Great Minds Mingle, which means that we don't have speakers.
Yeah.
At Topgolf. We're hosting it at Topgolf. You got to make it fun. And we've been doing Great Minds Mingles at the Four Seasons just to get everyone together. But we just had a Great Minds meeting in Denver Tech Center where we had 3 incredible guest speakers talking about how to protect the dream. So we always have a theme that's going to be really useful, not just for entrepreneurs and business owners, but anyone who's trying to accomplish anything. My thought was, and maybe we can leave it at this and wrap it up. My thought was, you have so many people trying to do so many awesome things, and there's so many resources out there to find the information to get there. They can go to those resources. This is different. I wanted to teach life skills, mindsets, and bring the people who have those mindsets to uplift whoever is trying to achieve something. Like, when I was going through my business, nobody told me I was going to experience sexism. Nobody told me I was going to, hit a challenge, and then how do you get through that? So I wanted to not just teach the game, I wanted to teach the rules of the game so that somebody could have the discernment to figure out their own solutions. And so I'm bringing people who, guess what, know how to do that. They've done it. they know how to get results, and they had to figure it out themselves, or maybe, find it themselves. So I'm trying to show people who are trying to achieve a goal how to achieve their own goal. Because then they can do anything. And we just help each other do that. We have so many people with great minds now that it's a flywheel of people helping other people.
Flywheel is a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Jessica Gonzales, thank you so much. How can people get in contact with you? How can they find you?
They can go to greatmindseventplanning.com. They can look up Great Minds Group on Facebook. They can find the Alpha Female on Instagram, or they can go to alphafemalevision.com.
Grateful for you. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming down. Bye, guys.